My best friend didn't just steal my identity. She studied me until she could wear my face better than I ever did. My voice, my name, my mannerisms, even the pauses I used on camera. She turned all of it into a version of me that made people trust her more than they ever trusted the real thing. While she kept shining online, I disappeared into a house buried in the mountains, hoping distance would kill whatever version of me was still spreading out there. It didn't, because someone found me. Every night, a red drone circled the roof. The cameras turned on by themselves at 3 a.m., and then someone left proof that this was never about the internet. It was about access. Someone inside that house knew exactly how to become me, because she had been rehearsing for years. The 3 women who came with me said they were my friends, but one of them knew every scar, every mistake, every secret that could destroy me if it ever got out. And before this night ends, I'm going to find out just how far my best friend was willing to go, not just to copy my life, but to replace me inside it. I woke with the sharp feeling that someone had said my old name, not the name the internet screams at me, the other one, the one I buried the day my face stopped belonging to a real person and became a brand. Blue light cut across the room like a silent alarm. For a second, I didn't know which version of me had opened her eyes. The one everybody followed, or the one nobody knew existed. I came to this country to disappear, yet even here the air felt like it remembered me. I stood up slowly, trying to recognize myself from the inside out. The wooden floor was cold and unfamiliar under my feet, like I was walking in someone else's life. This house wasn't a home. It was a bunker for a woman who'd let her real face be replaced by a profitable version of her. Subscribe now if you like stories that feel impossible until they start feeling real. Millions had followed me, but none of them had seen the person who woke up in this bed. No lashes, no contour, no filters. Just skin that hadn't slept and eyes that didn't know who they belonged to anymore. Confusion pulsed behind my ribs like an old injury that never healed right. In the bathroom, the mirror refused to give me back whole. My face was technically mine, but something about it still felt edited. Angles I learned for the camera appeared automatically, even here. The girl in the reflection turned her head half a second after I moved. For one breath, it looked like a glitch, like the deepfake all over again. My stomach dropped. I grabbed my phone like it was the last thing tethering me to reality. The screen lit up by itself before I touched it. A grid of videos loaded with my face, my voice, my laugh, perfect lighting, perfect posture, perfect delivery. I had never recorded any of them. I killed the screen and stepped out onto the porch, searching for air cold enough to shut everything down inside my chest. The mountains were swallowed by mist, erasing the road, the trees, the horizon. This was why I came here, to be nobody, to make my face meaningless again. For a moment, the silence was so full it felt alive. Then I heard it. A thin, mechanical buzz, coming from somewhere above the roof, cutting through the fog like a mosquito that had flown across the world just to find one specific person. It wasn't the sound of nature. It was the sound of something that knew exactly where my face was hiding. I chose to pretend everything was normal, because the alternative was panic. This trip to Georgia was never a vacation. It was damage control. The strange messages started before the suitcases were even out of the closet. First vague threats, then videos spreading in private groups with my face saying things I never said. I woke up early, took a long shower, tied my hair the way it always worked on camera. I put on a neutral shirt, the kind that didn't belong to any brand or character. If I could look ordinary, maybe I could feel safe. I repeated a rule in my head like a spell. No internet, no fire. If nothing connects, nothing spreads. If no one can reach me, maybe the fake version of me dies on its own. In the kitchen, I made coffee for everyone like it was any other Sunday. B walked in smiling, too light for someone who knew why we were really here. "Look at that. The star is back to normal," she said. I laughed louder than necessary. Normal looks weird on me. Laughter is also editing, and I needed that cut to work. Rena sat at the table with a closed notebook and eyes too awake. "Did you sleep?" I asked. "Enough," she answered, too fast, like a rehearsed line. Her fingers tapped the cover of the notebook, nervous, then stopped when she noticed I was watching. I didn't push. In that house, pretending was a silent agreement. Breaking it felt dangerous. Zara leaned against the doorframe, mug in hand, hair messy, gaze sharp. "This place feels outside the world," she said, looking at the fog through the window. Outside the world. Outside reach. Outside the version of me, already moving somewhere out there without my consent. I nodded like that sentence had just saved me, even though it didn't. I spent the morning organizing things that were already organized. Folding blankets, lining up books, wiping clean counters. Every gesture tried to prove I still had control over something, that the trip had been enough, that the problem had stayed behind the ocean, even though problems travel better than luggage. The drone passed once, fast like a red insect slicing the sky. "I'm sure it's just some local kid playing," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. No one answered. The silence that came back felt heavier than the sound of the drone. I smiled anyway, like I'd just made a harmless comment, like my chest wasn't tightening. When I finally closed my bedroom door, the mask slipped. My hands were shaking, and I hadn't even touched my phone. I sat on the edge of the bed, breathing shallow, telling myself denial was still an option. Then I saw it. My suitcase, slightly open, zipper not where I left it. Someone had been inside my things. And in that moment I understood. Pretending everything was normal wouldn't stop anyone, especially someone who already knew exactly how to live my life better than I do. I woke with the feeling someone had spoken my real name. Not Lana, the name the world bought and repeated until it became a brand. The other one, the one B was the first to say when everything began. I opened my eyes fast, expecting someone beside the bed. But only the window shadow waited on the wall, and guilt sat there with me before I even stood up. The memory hit hard. That tiny bedroom from the beginning. The cheap ring light, the phone stacked on books, the white wall pretending to be a studio, me trembling, rehearsing my first real video, B sitting on my bed wearing my shirt, my lipstick, my borrowed courage. She said she would appear on camera because I hated it, and she loved it. That day, the voice was mine, but the smile that captured everyone was hers. That video blew up my life and erased my real name from every surface. When the first agent called, he asked if Lana was artistic. B answered for me. "Lana sells better." I let the old name die so a new face could be born. I walked to the bathroom trying to cool the past out of me, but the mirror returns everything. It shows the version B helped shape. The perfect brows, calibrated hair, skin molded by contracts that bear my face but not my truth. I remember every person who said I was nothing without my image. And B beside me, agreeing without a word. She knows exactly where the real girl ends and the persona starts. Downstairs, B stirs a mug like she's on a break between scenes. "Good morning, our spiritual retreat star," she says. "More like recall," I answer. "Defective products go back to the factory." She laughs too loud, too comfortable. Deepfake should not sound so casual coming from someone who knows my face better than I do. Not when that face might already be in someone else's hands. Rena enters with a crushed folder I recognize instantly. My contracts, my image rights, my trembling signatures. Tiny versions of my face glued beside clauses that shaped who I became and what I cost. And in some papers, my real name attached to account numbers I barely remember. Guilt rises warm and heavy, tightening my throat. B picks up a contract and scans it with practiced eyes. She says she remembers that day. The pen slipping, my hesitation, her fingers pressing my shoulder every time I froze. "Trust me, people need a face. Yours is perfect. I'll handle the rest." Back then, it felt like protection. Now it feels like preparation. I look at the documents and feel something impossible, as if somewhere B holds identical papers with my forged signature and my high-resolution face. If there's a version of me saying things I never said, it is because I once let someone else decide who I would be on camera. The guilt is not the internet's. It belongs to the girl I still call my best friend, and to everything I allowed her to become in my place. The cabin was not a retreat, it was a shelter, and that morning I realized it too late. I woke up with my chest tight, like someone had breathed in my room while I slept. The silence felt different, alert. The bedroom door was half open. I was certain I had closed it before going to bed. On the bed sat a dark blue box that had not been there the night before. Inside was a lipstick from my own brand. The shade B always said worked better on her. At the bottom, a carefully placed sticker read, version 2.0 approved. I walked downstairs holding the box like evidence. B was in the kitchen fixing her hair in the window reflection. She repeated my movements with unsettling precision. Same angle, same touch at the neck. When she saw me, she smiled. Want help getting ready today? Rena rushed in right after, pale. She said someone accessed the house system, that there were new recordings not coming from the internal cameras. I asked what kind. She paused 1 second too long. Of you sleeping, of the door opening, of someone entering. My phone vibrated without service, a notification that should not exist. Your video is ready. The file opened by itself. It was me sleeping, but the angle was wrong, and a shadow near the door knew exactly where to stand. When I returned to the living room, B was holding the lipstick, turning it like a prototype. You never wear this shade. It looks better on me, she said. In that moment, fear stopped being external. It was not about drones or the internet. It was about someone learning how to live inside my place. After the lipstick, something inside me went strangely quiet, not relief. Exhaustion from holding up versions. I spent the day moving through the house like someone visiting a place she once lived in. Nothing felt threatening in that moment. Everything felt far away. I sat on the porch in the late afternoon, watching the fog rise slowly. I thought about who I might have been if that first video had never existed, if B had never shown up with the perfect idea, if I had said no to the camera and yes to the fear. Maybe I would have an ordinary job. Maybe a name only a few people knew. I missed things I never lived. A trip taken on impulse, a relationship without an invisible contract, a routine where my face was not currency. I felt the absence of those possibilities like mourning someone who died, even knowing they were never born. B sat beside me without asking. We stayed quiet for a while, staring at the same emptiness. Sometimes I wonder how it would be if everything were different, she said. I almost said I wondered the same. Then I realized we meant opposite things. She wanted another version of me. I wanted another life. When night fell, I went upstairs carrying a quiet grief. I opened my suitcase for the first time since arriving. Inside were clothes I had never worn, tags still attached, brand gifts meant for events that never happened, a full wardrobe for a person who never existed. But at the bottom, folded neatly among the dresses, was a silk blouse I didn't pack. Bright red, the shade B always claimed suited her better than me. Tucked into the collar, a small printed photo of her wearing it, smiling in perfect light. I lay on the bed without turning off the light, the blouse beside me like evidence. I thought about the name I abandoned, the body I might have had if I never learned how to pose, the voice that might have been softer, less trained. I felt longing for that imagined woman, and that was when I understood the greatest theft was not my face. It was the future I never got to try living, now being tried on by someone else. Anger came when fear stopped freezing me. It came when I realized this was not an accident, not random obsession. It was method. I spent the morning watching B like someone replaying old scenes. Everything made sense now. The way she spoke for me, the way she corrected small flaws only I noticed, the way she used we for decisions we never made together. It was not care, it was rehearsal, and I had allowed it. I went upstairs and opened an old folder on my phone. Files saved before the trip. Downloaded videos. Screenshots I never deleted. The beginning of my career frozen offline, not out of nostalgia, out of control. I watched my real name disappear slowly. I watched B become sharper with every recording. I watched contracts signed while I thanked people. Anger did not scream. It organized. It brought clarity. Rena tried to talk to me after lunch. Asked if I wanted to leave. I said no. My voice was steady. For the first time, I was not reacting. I was deciding. When B said it might be good to take a break from the character, something aligned inside me. Character. The word did not hurt. It confirmed. Anger became a boundary. And boundaries are quiet. That night, I closed my bedroom door without feeling weak. I did not cry. I did not shake. I understood one thing with terrifying clarity. She was not trying to be me. She already was, and I had to stop allowing it. From behind the door, I heard her voice, mine, on a call. Low, practiced, sealing a deal with my tone. I find the first camera in the hallway. Not by accident. It sits exactly where someone wants to be seen, just enough to intimidate. Small, black, almost elegant, mounted high, aimed at the stairs, at anyone who goes up, at anyone who comes down, at me. I do not step back. I do not pretend to be shocked. I move closer than I should. The lens holds a tiny reflection of my face, distorted, split. For 1 second, my body offers the old instinct. Cover it. Rip it out. Break it. I do none of that. If they are watching me, then they can watch me look back. In the living room, I find the second one, tucked between books no one touches. The framing is too professional to be paranoia. I stop in front of it. I smooth my hair. I straighten my shoulders. If this is a stage, I know it better than anyone. Then I go to my bedroom. The third camera is not even trying to hide. It points straight at the bed, the place where I sleep, the place where I cry, the place where I forget which version of me the world owns. I sit on the edge of the mattress and let the moment stretch, long enough to feel the heat rise in my skin, long enough to make it clear I understand the power in this. I do not touch the device. I do not tilt it. I do not cover it. I just exist in front of it. They know I saw, and I know they know. That is what it feels like when a mask slips. Not with screaming, with awareness. When I step back into the hallway, Zara is there, leaning against the wall like she has been waiting for my timing to catch up. She does not ask questions. "You noticed," she says. I nod once. "They noticed too," she adds. "For the first time since we arrived here, nobody is pretending, and that is the most dangerous kind of quiet. Courage does not arrive as a firm decision. It arrives as an uncomfortable choice. I walk down to dinner knowing every step may be watched. I do not need to see the cameras to feel them. The house changes when you know you have become content. B is already seated at the table. Too relaxed, too comfortable. When our eyes meet, something shifts. Not confrontation, recognition. She knows I noticed. Not how much, but enough to test the edges. "Did you sleep well?" she asks. Her voice is sweet, measured. "As always," I answer. I do not smile more than necessary. I do not look away. I do not explain. Rena watches the exchange in silence. Her glass stops halfway to her lips. She understands before she names it. Zara eats slowly, like someone watching a scene she expected. Her eyes scan the table, then settle on me. The conversation continues. Food. Old stories. Memories that used to feel warm and now sound rehearsed. B talks a lot. Too much. Like someone filling space to avoid losing control. "You always knew how to handle attention," she says, laughing. "Some people break when they get too much of it." I lift my eyes calmly. "Some people learn." The silence lasts half a second too long. Not enough to become a fight. Enough to mark territory. Rena leans closer when B stands up to get more wine. Her voice is low. Controlled. "I received an alert from outside," she says. My body reacts before my thoughts. "About what?" "About unease," she answers. "A few people, for now. But real." She does not mention names. She does not mention places. She does not have to. Someone, somewhere, has noticed that the version of me circulating is no longer behaving as expected. B returns to the table. She studies our faces a moment longer than before. She feels something slip. "Everything okay?" she asks, smiling at both of us. "Everything," I say. It is not a lie. Not yet. Later, in my bedroom, I close the door and rest my forehead against it. Not from fear, from exhaustion. Fragile courage does not want to win. It wants to cross the moment awake. I know the game is active. I know someone is trying to decide who I am. I know every gesture can become material. But now I am conscious too, and consciousness changes the game. Not with strength, not with attack, with presence, and that is more dangerous than any camera. My phone lit up on the nightstand. A single notification, no sender. She's awake now. A facade does not collapse all at once. It starts to fail in small delays, in answers that never arrive, in silences that do not match who I used to be. I wake before the others. The house is still, in a way that feels too respectful to be natural. I walk down to the kitchen slowly, careful with every step, as if the floor itself could expose intent. I make coffee only for myself. The smell spreads, but no one appears. It feels wrong. B is usually the first to arrive, loud, filling space. Rena comes in a few minutes later. She does not say good morning. She goes straight to the point. I got another alert from outside. My body reacts before my mind. About what? She sets her cup on the table without drinking. About unease. People who know your pattern. Who notice something missing. She does not name anyone. She does not name platforms. She does not need to. It's early, she adds. But when it starts like this, it usually doesn't stop. B appears right after, as if summoned by the silence, too polished for the hour. With the energy of someone who believes she still controls the script. You two look conspiratorial, she says, laughing. This place is messing with our heads. Or helping, I reply. She looks at me half a second longer. The smile stays, but recalculates. During breakfast, my phone vibrates for no reason, no signal, no notification, just a brief weight in my hand. Like something tried to get in and pulled back at the last second. B notices. She does not look at the phone. She looks at me. You seem different, she says, quieter. Maybe I'm listening more, I answer. Zara watches from the doorway, arms crossed, unreadable, like someone waiting for a crack to become visible to everyone. In the afternoon, the power goes out for a few minutes. Not long, but long enough to remind us that this isolation is a choice, not an accident. When the lights come back, Rena returns with tension in her face. Another sign, she says quietly. An old contact paused a decision. No explanation. That should scare me. But what I feel is something else. Relief. Because it means the facade built around me is no longer working properly. The character is failing, and characters fail when the one pulling the strings loses rhythm. At the end of the day, I stand alone in my bedroom. I do not turn on the light. I do not close the curtains. If someone is watching, they are watching someone who no longer delivers what is expected. On the dresser sat my perfume bottle, the one I never opened here. Cap slightly loose, a scent lingered that was not mine, hers. The loss of the facade is not a scandal. Not yet. It is when the world starts to feel something is wrong without knowing why. When something that once looked solid begins to feel off. And whoever is behind this knows one thing now. I am no longer cooperating the way I used to. And when a character stops obeying, someone, somewhere, starts losing control. Reconnection does not arrive as calm. It arrives as shock. I wake up with my body on alert, like I slept inside an alarm. Every sound in the house makes me hold my breath. Every silence that lasts too long feels like a decision. The first idea is simple. Leave. Get up. Throw everything into the backpack. Walk down the road before anyone wakes up. I actually sit on the bed with that plan ready. The backpack is right there. My clothes folded too fast. My mind already calculating distance, timing, risk. Then I remember. Out there, someone is watching patterns. Someone is waiting for mistakes. If I leave now, nervous, without a consistent story, I become bait. I don't need the internet to know how that ends. I've lived it. In the bathroom, the harsh light gives me back a face without a character. Eyes too alert, jaw locked. You're not safe, I whisper. Not as panic, as fact. And the other truth follows right behind it. I'm not ready to run either. The memory card is in my backpack. I feel its weight before I touch it. I take it out slowly. I hold it in my palm like it's hot. I walk down to the kitchen with measured steps, not fast, not too careful. Rena is already sitting at the table, notebook closed, coffee untouched. She looks at the card in my hand before she looks at me. "I found that last night," she says. My stomach tightens. "I heard footsteps in the hallway, near your room." She keeps her voice low, like the house is still listening. "When I got there, no one was there." She pauses. "But this was on the floor, like someone dropped it while running." "Did you see who it was?" I ask. "Not the face," she answers, "but I recognize the jacket and the hurry." "I don't need to ask whose." "I didn't open it," Rena continues. "I didn't think it was my right to decide when you should see it." She points to the pantry, a thick door, no window. "In there," she says, "less chance of anyone hearing even your breathing." We go in and close the door. The tablet flashlight cuts through the dark. The click of the card sliding into my phone is too small for what it carries. The first folder opens. Rehearsal 1. Rehearsal 2. Rehearsal 3. The voice that comes out is mine. Not exactly. It's my voice trained, copied, polished. "Hi, my loves," the recording says, with the same rhythm I used for years. My body goes cold. The recording changes. Now it's B. Her voice low, controlling. Again. "Hold the air before you speak. You don't open your mouth like that. Do it right." Rena holds her breath. Another file. A screen recording. My face frozen in a frame, layer upon layer being adjusted. My mouth moves into a sentence I never said. I swallow hard. Unsent messages appear next. Short. Cruel. She can't handle it. She's going to ruin everything. I can hold this better. My fingers go numb. I open the last file without meaning to. Or maybe meaning to. A short video. A table. A mug. B's voice appears, laughing. "I was always you," she says. "You only had the face. I had the rest." The air leaves my chest. I feel disgust. The urge to run. The urge to disappear. But something steadies in the middle of the chaos. Now I know. Rena touches my wrist. Not comfort. An anchor. "She doesn't know you saw this," she says. "She'll know by my face," I answer. "Then you can't give her that face," Rena says. Simple. Necessary. I put the card in my pocket, like someone putting away a blade. When we leave the pantry, the house is too quiet, like it's waiting. And I understand. Inner realignment isn't peace. It's silent war. Running now isn't a solution. It's surrender. And I'm not giving anything away anymore. Acceptance is not calming down. It's stopping the lie that things can still go back to the way they were. I leave the pantry with my face too controlled. I realize it too late. The house looks the same, but it isn't. B is in the living room, sitting on the couch, phone in hand, even without signal. When she sees me, she looks up too fast, like she was waiting. "I was looking for you," she says, smile ready, tone too light. "I needed to see you too," I reply. Mistake. The words come out before I think. They don't match my pattern. They don't match who I've been. She feels it. I see it in the split second where her smile recalculates. "Needed," she repeats. That sounds serious. "Not everything is a joke," I say. And the moment the words leave my mouth, I know I went too far. Rena appears in the hallway, stops, watches. Zara is on the porch, but her body shifts slightly toward us, like she's listening with her skin. B stands up slowly, walks toward me carefully, every step measured. "You've been acting strange," she says, "since yesterday." "Maybe I'm tired," I answer. "Or maybe you're hiding something," she counters, still smiling. The air thickens. My body goes into full alert. I think about the card in my pocket, about what I know now, about how much she cannot know that I know. "You were always terrible at lying," B continues. "But you were great at pretending everything was normal." That line isn't casual. It's a test. Rena steps forward, interrupts. "Let's eat," she says, "before the food gets cold." B keeps her eyes on me for one more second, then laughs. "Of course," she says. "I almost forgot we're still friends." At the table, everything feels rehearsed. Empty conversations, laughter at the wrong moments. B talks more than usual, tells old stories, recalls moments when I didn't want to appear. "You always hated cameras," she says, looking straight at me. "Remember how I had to pull you in?" "I remember," I say. "I helped you," she continues. "Without me, you would have quit." "Or maybe I would have gone slower," I reply. She stops chewing. The silence lasts a second longer than it should. Zara breaks it. "You two are acting weird," she says. "It feels like you're competing over something." B laughs loudly. "Imagine that." But her eyes return to me, cold now. After lunch, B follows me into the hallway. She lowers her voice. "You trust me, don't you?" The question is simple, direct. My instinct screams to say yes, to erase the risk, to go back to safe ground. I trust what I see," I say. She stares at me. For a second, there's no mask at all. Then the smile returns. But something inside it locks shut. Later, alone in my bedroom, I shake. For real. I sit on the bed, my breathing uneven. I almost ruined everything. That's when I understand that acceptance isn't being ready. It's acting even without guarantees. If I keep reacting, she catches me. If I try to run, she wins. The only way out is to flip the game. Not with an attack, with an offer. I step toward the door. I decide. If B wants to be me, I'll let her get close enough to make a mistake. The house is too quiet, not the quiet of night, the quiet that comes after something irreversible. I step into the living room. B stands in the middle, no phone, no practiced smile, no audience. For the first time since I have known her, she is not performing. "You trained my voice," I say, edited my face, spoke for me. She does not deny it, does not lower her head, does not try to explain. "You were always a project," B says. "I was just honest about that." "I knew," I reply. "I just convinced myself to pretend I did not, until today." The words land between us, too heavy to be picked up. The silence that follows is not comforting. It is final. My phone vibrates on the table. No normal signal, but an offline message flashes. "Alert! Local cameras, satellite, live, she's breaking." Rena and Zara freeze in the doorway. B glances at it. Her face tightens. She takes a deep breath as if calculating risks. Not legal ones, emotional ones, public ones. "So that is it?" she asks. "You are going to expose me?" I look at her face, not the one the internet knows, the other one, the one that never learned how to exist outside my shadow. "No," I say. She blinks, confused. "No, I am not going to expose you," I repeat, "but I am not going to protect you either." That hurts more than any accusation. The phone vibrates again. Comments flooding in real time. She's not herself. Deepfake? End it. Rena steps forward, ready to smash it. I stop her with a look. This choice is mine alone. "Everything that was mine," I continue, my voice steady now, "stays with me. My face, my name, my story." B swallows hard. For the first time, she looks small. "The rest," I finish, "is up to you." She takes a long moment to answer. When she speaks, her voice is not villainous. It belongs to someone who has lost the ground beneath her feet. "And if I do not know how to be anyone without you?" The question does not ask for forgiveness. It asks for responsibility. "Then learn," I reply, like everyone else does. Without stealing. Without hiding behind someone else's face. B nods slowly. Not in acceptance. In understanding that it is over. The phone goes dark. No more vibrations. Someone, somewhere, cut the feed. Later, alone in my room, I sit on the edge of the bed. The fear is still there, but it no longer leads. Outside, the night remains quiet. No drones, no cameras. For the first time in a long while, no one is living my life in my place, and that is enough. For now. I didn't leave that house as a victim. I left as someone who finally understood her own worth. I didn't expose her. I didn't destroy her. I didn't scream for revenge. But I also didn't let anyone use my face, my voice, or my life ever again. Some people think winning means being louder. Others think it means erasing someone else. I learned that real power is quieter than that. It's stepping out of the shadow. It's taking control back. It's choosing who you are when no one is watching. If you've ever felt like someone was living your life for you, if you've ever noticed yourself fading while someone else grew using what was yours, then this story wasn't just mine. It was a warning. If you want to keep hearing stories like this, stories that feel fictional, but hurt because they're too real, that arm you before someone steals your life, subscribe now. Next story drops this Friday. Here, every story starts beautifully, gets uncomfortable in the middle, and saves you in the end.